The NFL draft is less than 5 weeks away, and while the team preps for what might be available at number 8, they still have some work to do in free agency. What's next on the agenda? A cornerback? Wide receiver? Maybe an edge rusher? How much does the draft play into all these plans? We'll ask our old friend Larry Holder, The Athletic. It's been a while since he's been on, for his thoughts on the Saints and so much more. We'll also ponder the LSU women's basketball team and their chances of making a run in the NCAA tournament, which starts for them later this afternoon. By the way, you won't believe the spread in this game. We'll tell you what it is. We'll also chat a little bit about LSU baseball facing Oklahoma in a key SEC series back at home. We'll ask the question we ask every year at this time. Is your bracket already busted? For that date, we have a special treat for Gabe, and I have a pick of grandson number 3 for you. Can't wait for that. What a week. Let's get to it. Take the phone outside and sit on the patio. Enjoy this beautiful weather. Meanwhile, I'll sit in the dungeon and begin the Dattitude podcast. Well, you know what? I'm going to do it right now.
Ready to hear the straight scoop on local and national sports? It's time for Jim Derry's take on the Saints, LSU, what betting lines to ponder, and more. He's got opinions, he's got insight, and he's got Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.
Where you at, Dattitude family? I have one question for you. Do I look like I'm old enough to be a grandpa for the 3rd time? Don't answer that. You know what you can't answer? You know what time it certainly is? It's time for Dattitude. Episode number 486, presented by Evangeline Securities for a Friday, March the 20th, 2026. We have all kinds of fun stuff for you. I am your host, Jim Derry, 35 and a half years on the New Orleans sports media scene. I thank you so much for spending part of your day with us. Man, we have all kinds of stuff going on today, and I can't wait to start sharing it with you as I share give a shout out to all our members. I'll talk about that in a minute, but it gets to this time of year where if it seems like we're talking about the same stuff over and over again, it's because we are. Now, it does get a little bit different every day. And, breaking news this morning, that's how important this breaking news is. The Saints have re-signed defensive end edge rusher Chris Rumph. That is not a surprise. My friends at my former employer at the mothership asked the question, does that mean that Cam Jordan's coming back? That doesn't have any impact, I don't think, on Cam Jordan. I think that was going to happen the entire time. So that is, we'll probably touch on that a little bit this morning. What are the most important needs still? Can the Saints address them in free agency? And will what they do over the course of the next 5 weeks in free agency tell us what they're going to do in the draft? Maybe. If they go out and sign a wide receiver, and we showed it on the title slide, we showed Jennings as one of the potential targets, and I think he is a potential target. I don't necessarily think he's going to be signed by the Saints, but I think he's a target. Will the Saints spend that kind of money on a Jennings? I don't know. But I guess the point is, if they were going to do that, obviously that might tell you a little bit about where they're going in free agency. They make another big offensive splash in free agency, then maybe that tells you that they are going defense. If they go out and sign a L'Jarius Sneed or someone along those lines, or go out and sign an edge rusher, maybe that makes it less likely. Not maybe, it obviously makes it less likely that they're going to sign a defensive player at number 8. So I think what happens, obviously, over the course of the next 5 weeks, or one day shy of 5 weeks, is when the draft begins, tells us what the Saints are going to do. Larry Holder hasn't been here in a while, and I went and looked. I didn't see it right off the bat. Gabe, I think you might have told me when the last time he was here. I don't remember. You can look it up if you want. When's the last time Larry's been here? But it's been quite a while. Larry Holder, who was our Friday friend before Zach, he came on every Friday and talked about, we talked about the Saints. He was covering the NFL for The Athletic. Well, now his job's a little bit different at The Athletic. He is the card and memorabilia reporter he's got a really cool job, but we're going to mess with him about that. He and I are been in the same baseball league forever. We're going to talk about that. So that's coming up this morning. Also, we're going to talk about LSU women. I can't wait to show you the line for the LSU women's basketball team. It is insane. And in other words, it is definitely, I'll tell you this. You can't bet on it. I mean, you could do whatever you want, but I wouldn't bet on it. So interesting numbers there as they play Jacksonville, the 2 seed against the 15 in the 2 seed. I was right. 2 seed against the 15 seed in Baton Rouge this afternoon. I believe it starts at 4:30. And I'm sure you can find it. It's on all of the, if you got the ESPN app, if you have YouTube TV, I don't remember which ESPN it's on, but you can find it easily. And then the NCAA tournament, the men's tournament kicks back up today. Is your bracket busted? You know, some interesting numbers. We're going to talk maybe a little bit more about the bracket in a little bit. It's about to start up again as well. I think it started, or it's starting right now. After one game yesterday, after that first game, was it Ohio State and TCU? After the first game yesterday, what do you think the percentage of brackets that were still perfect after one game? The answer is, and this is ESPN, 39.5%. 39.5% of the brackets were still perfect. Mine was not one of them. I had Ohio State. After 5 games, how many, what do you think the percentage was? After 5 games in the NCAA men's tournament, just 3.2% of the brackets were still perfect. And after 16 games, after all 16 games yesterday, what do you think the percentage of brackets that are perfect? Try 0.04%. How about yours? Is yours still you liar. Don't tell me you're full of it. No way it's still perfect. Gabe says there are, out of the millions and millions of brackets on ESPN, there are only 10,754 perfect brackets left. And that might sound like a lot, and I guess in the grand scheme of things, it is. But you're talking about, I think there's something like, 90 million brackets, or maybe it's more than that. Something insane. And we have a bracket challenge over on ESPN. If you've already filled, now it's too late if you haven't filled out a bracket yet, but if you've already filled out a bracket and you want to join, put your bracket in with the group of people at Dattitude, you still can go and do that. Just go search for Dattitude. Say you want to join a group and get in Dattitude. I think we got 11 brackets in there. I did one just for a goof. I told y'all the other day, I've probably spent less time watching college basketball this year than maybe I didn't have time to get into it. But I did a bracket. I did okay. I had 12 out of 16. It's okay for a first day, I guess. Anyway. So all kinds of stuff coming up today. We're going to talk about that. We will talk about LSU baseball, as I said. Big series against Oklahoma coming up. And Dat Date, I have a treat. Gabe is going to love Dat Date today. We've had a lot of, since we started this segment, we've had a lot of 1970s and 1980s, which is before. No, we've got a pretty good year for Gabe was, I don't know. He was probably about graduating high school-ish. 2017. Did you graduate high school in 2017? Graduated high school in 2017. So there's your spoiler alert. That is the year that we have for that date. There are some special birthdays related to New Orleans today. In fact, I only have 3 birthdays. There aren't a ton of big name birthdays out there today. But of the 3 that I have, 2 of them involve your local team's big birthdays. Don't spoil it if you already know. Don't spoil it in the comments for other people. Wait till we get to that. I know some of y'all can't help yourselves, but I have not looked at a comment yet. That's all coming up as well. So anyway, all right. I'm going to get to the show in just a minute, but I got to do this first. As I told y'all on the show on Wednesday, I was about to be a grandpa for the 3rd time. Well, he was born. Brooks Carl Bourgeois was 8 pounds, 2 ounces yesterday. And here he is. It was just, the first picture I saw of him, which was kind of cool, and I didn't put that on here, but first picture I saw of him was him with his kind of shit-eating grin on his face, just like his daddy. Like when his daddy's right once or twice a year about sports stuff. And when he's right, he has this little grin on his face. Brooks had that grin on his face. First picture I saw from him. And look, I couldn't be more proud. I couldn't be proud of my son and my daughter-in-law, and just happy. And we had one of our grandsons stayed with us last night. One of our grandsons stayed with his other grandmother. And look, we're just excited, and it's a great time here at the Derry House. As you know, whenever you have an addition to the family, it is pretty cool, and we're definitely excited. Yep, Grandpa, I'm telling you, it's hard. I mean, look, and I tell this to Gabe, and I tell this to all kinds of people, all young people, whatever. You know, and a lot of y'all are my age out there. Well, some of y'all are even older than me, but I'm not joking. Well, I tell this to senior every year when I start doing football previews, and I'm out at different high schools, and not as much anymore because I don't cover high schools as much as I used to. But when I go out there and I talk to whoever the star of the team is, the couple stars, and I tell these seniors, and I'm like, you know, enjoy this season, because not only the season, but your entire senior year is going to go like that. And you know, the older you get, obviously, the faster time goes. But they're like, yeah, okay. You could see in their eyes, whatever, Mr. Derry. And then they come up to me after, and then, Mr. Jimmy, you were so right. It went by so fast. But it's every year. It really is. It's kind of insane how fast time goes. And to think that I have my third grandson already. My friends who are, some of them are older than me, telling me how old I am. Some of them don't even have grandkids yet, but they will soon enough. What are we going to get to today? You want to be a part of the show, and I see we have a chunk of comments today. I'm about to get to them. Reminder, if you like what you see, or we would love it if you would subscribe to the Dattitude podcast on YouTube. If you're watching on Facebook, or you're watching on X, or wherever you watch, you listen to the pod later on, we would love for you to go find us on YouTube and subscribe to us. We would really appreciate it. Give us a thumbs up, a like. It really helps us. Anything we can do to please Mr. or Mrs. Algorithm, we love to do that. And if you're around for a while and you decide you want to support the channel financially, we would love that as well. We're independent now. I'm doing a lot of freelance. I got freelance tonight. As a matter of fact, I am going to be at Avenger Field, Uptown, New Orleans. I'll be doing play-by-play. I haven't done play-by-play in a month. So I'm looking. It's funny. I haven't done play-by-play in a month, and I have a game. I think 6 out of the next 8 days I have a game. It's crazy how it works out. But got Newman baseball tonight. Newman and St. Charles, a big one. So it should be real fun. 2 of the area's best pitchers are going tonight. But anyway, you want to check that out, you can find me on Varsity Sports Now. But anyway, if you would like to help us out any kind of way, whether you want to become a member or whether you want to donate via Super Chat, we would appreciate it. Also, you can find me if you want to talk to me after the show. Email me, jim@jimderry.com, or at Jim Derry Jr. on X. I always respond, and I know I haven't been as quick on the members-only Slack channel as some of you would like, but thank goodness Gabe has been Gabe's always in there, and he's always responding to everybody. We appreciate that as well. All right, let's get started with today's show. And as we do, we will tell you about our friends at Evangeline Securities. Of course, they're a company that can help you decide if it's the right time to sell your family-run or privately held business. And just as importantly, they could tell you what that business is worth. If that's you, someone you know, someone you love, someone you say, you know what? I don't know how much I love this person, but they need my help. Then have them reach out to Evangeline's founding partner, Nick Braden. He will start by scheduling a complimentary valuation of your business from his office, either on Poydras Street or in Lafayette. From there, you will be well informed to begin to make the decision on if you want to proceed. What happens after that? Well, stick around. We'll fill you in more later in the show. In the meantime, you can check them out at www.evangelinesecurities.com. You can also check out my friend, Joe DiStefano. If you own a small business of fewer than 20 employees, you know how tough it is to get the best rates on health insurance. That's why you want to call Joe DiStefano Insurance. Joe and I have known each other for almost 40 years. I can tell you that he's someone that I trust. Look, health insurance shouldn't be one size fits all, and with Joe DiStefano, you get access to PPO networks and flexible plans designed to fit you, not just a cookie cutter mold. Joe's licensed, he's local, but he can help you no matter where you live and operate. From preventative care to peace of mind, we'll tailor a plan that works for your life today and tomorrow. Call Joe DiStefano at 504-234-2132 to protect what matters most. Let's get this show on the road. What we got here? Yep. Happy 320 day for those who celebrate. If you were here the other day, you know what he's talking about. I'm clueless when it comes to 320, 420, 520, 920, whatever the hell 20 you want. Give me a 20. That funny UBN, Chad Gage. I know, man. Forget it. Charles Mangus is back. Where you been? We missed you this whole week. It was sick as a dog for throw. Oh, you got my funk. Pels win 3 in a row. Yep, they sure did. The Pels are on a roll. Jody Alexander, good morning, everybody. Temps are higher. Maybe not anyone else. The temps are higher. UBN he's in a much better mood now. The temps have moved back into the 70s. He's thrilled. Adam Varner, good morning, Dattitude. He says he thinks the Saints will kill it in the draft. Yeah. Mark Satanovich here. He's getting ready for the Irish. I think the Irish Italian parade is this weekend. In fact, we hold our fantasy baseball draft with Larry and some other members of the media are in it. Mike Triplett's in it. Doug Mouton helps me out a lot. He's in it. Some other people around. Jeff Duncan is in it. You remember Mike Perlstein for the time speaking forever and then worked for Channel 4. He's in the league. A couple of my other friends are in the league. Josh Katzenstein, who used to cover the Saints. Luke Johnson's in the league. We all we get together at Drago's every year, and it seems like the last few years that we've done the draft at Drago's, we try to do it on the Sunday before the season starts, and it seems like we've done it on the same day as the parade. So you got to make sure you get to Drago's a little earlier. I will for sure. Kyle Sherman, good morning. Congratulations. Thank you so much. We're glad you are here. Earl's Picks, yo. Donald, good morning. Glad you're here. The Pelicans have absolutely been on a roll. They have been on a roll. We'll talk some Pels next week, I promise. We do have some Pels in Dat Date. Spoiler alert. A certain Pelican is so don't put it if you know the answer. Don't put it in there yet. A certain Pelican is having a birthday, and you're not going to believe this Pelican's age. I was shocked when I saw this morning. I think you're getting, but don't put it in the chat if you know the answer. Thank you so much, Charles Mangus, for the $5 donation. We very much appreciate it. Super sticker, helping support independent journalists. I appreciate you. I guess independent show host. I'm always be a journalist first. Always a sports writer first. Mark Gasky is here. Good morning. 34 days to the draft. That's right. 5 weeks from yesterday. The draft. We will be having a live show. Gabe and I and whoever else wants to join us. Yeah, Charles, I meant to mention this. I'm glad you typed it in. The great Chuck Norris passed away this morning or last night of this morning. 86 years old. Man, I tell you what. When you see stuff like Chuck Norris was 86 years old, that's for a guy like me. That's when you start feeling old for sure. That'll help you feel old too. Chris Rumpf, most certainly, Kyle, is reliable depth. Absolutely. Who Dat Daddy's here? Good morning. Glad you're here at the start of the show. Dattitude family. My friend Jimmy Radcliffe is here. Do we have anything we need to officiate today? Jim Radcliffe, one of the, maybe, I'm not going to say one of the, say the, with no, I don't want to, I got other official friends, so I don't want to piss anybody off, but one of the best high school officials that has ever officiated a game here in the state of Louisiana now lives in California. But when I have officiating, he gets a little aggravated because sometimes I ask some stupid questions and they say, didn't we talk about this already? Yeah. But you know me, I like to aggravate people sometimes. Jerry, good morning. How are you, sir? Happy Friday. Indeed. Little handsome fella. UBN has a new boy genius. Yeah, look. I hope we're gonna be nothing but nice today. Absolutely. I'm so proud of him. I'm so proud of just, I got those. It's different when you're a grandpa as opposed to when you're a dad. Most of you know. A lot of you know what I'm talking about. Not most of you. A lot of you know what I'm talking about. Nathan Thomas, good morning. Congrats. Thank you, sir. Joe DiStefano, congrats. Thank you. Nathan says it's a beautiful day in North Mississippi. We thank you for watching from North Mississippi. It is supposed to get to 75 degrees today. It's going to be a great night to cover baseball. Joe, you're right, man. Days are long, years are short. Look, you know, Joe's pretty close to my age, and look, you could see the day. You could see the day where you don't have to work as hard as you've been working for a long, long time, but it's not really close enough to get too excited, which is okay. You know, look, this show it was a dream of mine. I always wanted to have my own show. It's finally grown to where we're getting to, getting eyes on us. It's getting to where I want it to be. It's not there yet in our 6th season, but I look forward to the day when I can just do this show and not have to do all this other stuff on the side and not have to go. And don't get me wrong, I love doing play-by-play, but all the other stuff that goes with it and covering games and writing stories. Again, I love it all, but I look forward to the day when I could do less of it, when I don't have to work basically every night. I am looking forward to that. That day will come one day, but I still got a few years to go before we get there. So I understand, Joe, exactly what you're talking about. Kyle Sherman looks like I actually got a haircut yesterday. Before I went and saw the baby, I'm like, you know what? I had an hour or about an hour and a half. I had about an hour and a half to kill, I guess. Perfect time to go get a haircut. What else we got here? Mr. Working Man is here. Where you at? Good morning. Spring is in the air. Every sight and every sound. That's right. I sung on the air. R.I.P. Chuck Norris. No question. UBN. I appreciate you so much, UBN. Grandbaby's Puppy Fund. Oh, God. Thank you for the $30 super chat, UBN. Were you here for the conversation on dogs? I took a little grief over that. I don't dislike dogs. I would just look, don't get mad at me. Some people really get ticked off when you say stuff like this. But you know me, I'm an open book. I would just prefer I don't get the whole, let's put it this way. I don't get the whole, you're going off to the store and you got the dog in your lap. Okay. I know a lot of people that do that. A lot of people do it. I don't get it. I know Gabe's a huge dog person. UBN, obviously a huge dog person. I know a lot of y'all. So I'm not trying to piss you off. And again, I told you why the other day. I think it's because I grew up, my mom raised cats. We always had multiple cats in the house. We usually had multiple dogs. And then my first marriage was to a vet, and we had a very tiny house with lots of animals in it. And I think, just kind of, don't get me wrong, most of them were sweet animals. I'm not mean to them. Just sometimes, I don't know. You get where I'm going. I better stop while I'm still kind of ahead. Brian Cabot, what is good this morning? The weather, he is loving it. I am in the dungeon. As soon as I get off this show, by the way, I'm glad I that's one thing that is cool about doing calling baseball games this time of year, because the weather is usually really nice. And I love being out. I love being outside. Maybe we'll take this show out. Maybe I'll do a show from the back. I've done a show from the backyard before. It's been a long time. Maybe we'll do a show from the backyard one day before it gets too hot. We'll see. Sav, congrats. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you. Michael Richard is here. Or is it Richard? What's up? Michael Richard from the Best Bank. Or is it Richard? It's probably Richard. How are you, sir? Who dat? Glad you're here. Joe says, never retire. If you do what you're passionate about, you never work a day in your life. You know, I've always heard that saying, and that ain't true, Joe. I love what I do. I've been very, very lucky. No matter where I've gone, there have been times in my career where I didn't necessarily love what I was doing. But for the most part, for the better part of almost 36 years now, I would say 31 of them, I've loved what I was doing. I cannot say that you'll never work a day in your life, because a lot of times, yes, you work lots of days in your life. So I don't know if that's necessarily true. All right, Larry Holder coming up in about 5 minutes or so. He should be here. What are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about Saints free agency if you want to get in on it. That is going to be the main topic of a conversation. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that slide up there. And look, this is the same slide basically that we've been running for the past week plus. They haven't re-signed any. Well, they haven't signed any. They haven't made a splash since the first 2 days, right? But I think they're going to. If you look, I think the Saints are currently about $13 million under the cap, somewhere between 12.5 and 15 million under the cap. And again, easily could make themselves some more room if they need to. So what does that allow them to sign? I don't know the answer to that. So that's why I think wide receiver is probably unlikely when you talk about what's potentially going to be signed. Jawan Jennings, I think, would be fantastic for this team, but would they be able to fit him in? Other wide receiver, notable free agents, are you interested in any of these names? Stephon Diggs, Keenan Allen, Tyreek Hill. We talked about Deebo Samuel a little bit earlier. But that's why, to me, I think the Saints would be much better off to address their wide receiver needs in the draft. And for multiple reasons. And we've talked about the reasons for the most part. When you look at, money absolutely comes into play. Okay. And the Saints, whether they do it in the next couple months, or they wait till after June 1 or whenever they do it before the season, you would think that at some point before the season that Chris Olave is going to get his extension. They're going to restructure. They're going to redo it, not restructure, but they're going to redo his contract. And he's going to get 3 to 4 years on his contract extra. He's going to be here. I would be surprised if Chris Olave isn't a Saint for quite a while. And I know that there are mixed feelings about whether he's worthy of that. There's no question he's a wide receiver one. But I just think money-wise, it makes more sense for this team to go and get yourself a receiver, especially if Cornell Tate's there. I think that's an absolute no-brainer. If Cornell Tate is available at number 8, if he's still there, I think you run to the podium. I mean, obviously, with the way the Saints have gone about their business, I think Jeremiah Love, most people think he's not going to be there at 8, and even if he is, what do you do? So anyway, I think the Saints, to me, that should be the highest priority as you go into the draft, because wide receiver contracts are so ridiculously high. You go get your stud receiver to pair up and make wide receiver 2 right off the bat next to Olave, next to Jawan Johnson. And man, you have already upgraded running back. You've upgraded on your offensive line. Now you can upgrade at wide receiver in the draft, in my opinion, and have a guy that's going to be on a rookie contract for the next 4 to 5 years. And it makes a lot of sense. Couple more comments here before we get to Larry Holder, who's now in the green room. Musette says, you've just never had your own dog that was yours. That's not necessarily true. It really does make a difference. I understand where you're coming from, Musette. Again, I don't want to bury myself in a hole when I talk about doggies. But I sometimes I just don't get it. You know what I mean? All right. You know who's got, we talk about not working a day. And if you love what you do, not working a day. Larry Holder's got the life, man. Where have you been, by the way? When's the last time you've been on the show? I don't even know.
I don't have a good recollection of when the last time I've been. It's been so long. My goodness.
I mean, there's no Christmas tree in the background.
We could have left it up for like Mardi Gras, Easter tree.
Exactly.
Spring break tree.
We have permanent. We got permanent holiday lighting right around Halloween, and it's pretty cool to like go through the things. But it's kind of getting to where my wife's like, "All right, you got Easter colors up now. You did St. Patrick's Day. You did Mardi Gras. Can we just like make them white now and just let them? Do we really need to like do every single? What are you gonna do? You're gonna have Memorial Day, 4th of July. I mean, Flag Day, you're going to do that. What's coming up next?
I feel like I'm running around too much. Got kids that are older and doing too many things, and man, I can't keep up with that. I'm just lucky to get through the day. It seems like,
Yeah, you're just getting the green room, but you didn't even hear this. I don't think I told you, but I showed, and I'll show it one more time before we move on. But a special day in the Derry household. Grandpa for the third time.
Gramps for the third time.
Yeah,
Hello.
Little Brooks was born yesterday, 8 pounds, 2 ounces. Pretty fired up over here. So
Congrats.
But that's when you start feeling old, Larry. I mean, you got that in your future.
I've got a minute there. My oldest is a freshman at Brother Martin. We've got a minute.
It goes by fast, as well as I do. Quickly, yes. My oldest daughter is a freshman at Lakeshore, so I get that. Yeah,
it's funny because I think back, and people obviously still associate with me with like covering the Saints and doing this, that, and working, for the Times-Picayune. And I've worked at the Athletic almost 8 years now, and that's almost 2 years longer than I was at the Picayune. So it's wild that that time is just a million miles ago.
Yep. I know. But that's why it's going to be interesting to talk about the Saints with you today. I mean, you might never even heard of Tyler Shuck for all I know. I mean,
oh boy, I could tell you what, as someone who covers the collectibles and memorabilia world, I've got a few Tyler Shuck autograph cards. I've got some ones that I think people are sleeping on him in the industry that I cover. So trust me, I think that's because people, they have the sets that are still, Cam Ward's a quarterback and Shedeur Sanders. I'm like, y'all are missing the boat. Jackson Dart. I was like, y'all are all missing the boat. So I'll go get all the Tyler Shuck cards, and I'm a believer in Mr. Shuck.
Larry Holder of The Athletic with us this morning. Larry and I have known each other for a long time. We have done many shows together. I've not always been the nicest guy to my friend Larry. So, because
probably vice versa.
Of all the people who I've done shows with, Larry can take a joke as well as anyone. So we like to roast each other every
That's
now and
the thing.
then.
If I'm going to dish them out, boy, I better be able to take the jokes. And so a lot of times it's like, what am I going to say? It's just what it is. Like the joke is just true.
Little poke, a little punch. He narrow cover again, as he said. He covered the Saints for a long time for the Times-Picayune, then covered the Saints in the NFL for the Athletic, then the NFL, and now he's covering cards and collectibles. How is that gig going, by the way?
It is. I'll tell you what. All you do is go look at a story that I wrote, and it came out this morning, and it is a 2,200 word story on shill bidding, basically people trying to manipulate card auctions to inflate prices. And when I tell you that I've had in the last year and probably 3 or 4 months that I've covered this industry, I've had to have more stories go through lawyers than in my entire career covering the NFL.
Really?
It's that complicated legalese, and it is such a wild world because there's so much money into it, and it can bring out bad characters. And so it's but the money is huge. The growth is huge. I'm shocked to see how many people actually read the stuff, because I came in blind. Like, I'm not some lifelong collector.
Right.
Like, I just said, let me give this a whirl after covering the Saints of the NFL and everything else for the last 20 years. Let me give this a whirl. And it's been a wild, wild world for sure.
That's what I was going to say. It has to be something different, but I would imagine when you told me you were doing this, I was like, it's hard to believe that you would want to leave the NFL world, but it's a rat race, and it will sap every ounce of energy out of you. But then when you said what you were going to, I'm like, there is a major interest for this. I could absolutely see this being, kind of trend setting. Here, I say here, I don't work for the Times-Picayune anymore, but the Times-Picayune were the first local newspaper to have a sports betting department, which they don't have anymore. But so after we started doing it, and I say we because I was part of when they first started it began a thing across a bunch of different local newspapers. It's since kind of died out a little bit since sports betting is so prevalent now, which seems kind of an oxymoron. But when you told me you were doing this, I said, I really thought this was something that could work, and it seems like it has.
Yeah, it really has. And the thing is, there's not a lot of coverage of it, but it's so big. And it's funny because the sort of stuff we try to stay out of, the really nitty-gritty stuff that would really appeal to just like the extreme. So it's got to have broad appeal. And that's the thing. People are drawn into this, and so much more people are getting into it, whether it's just, kids growing up with it, all the way to the billionaires who want to collect this stuff. And people look at it as pieces of art, and it's grown bigger than I ever really thought. And it's still growing. And just with the transition, again, this is kind of nitty gritty, but now Topps is basically taking over all the licenses for, they're about to start doing NFL again for the first time in 16 years. NBA, they just started doing again. And so it's a whole big transition to a world. And that world, look, Topps is owned by Fanatics. And I mean, that's everybody knows Fanatics. If you're buying jerseys, if you're buying everything, I mean, it's all connected. And so it is a monster industry. And there are all these moving parts that go into it outside of just cards skyrocketing in value, whether you're looking at Shohei Ohtani or, Aaron Judge or Victor Wembanyama, Cooper Flag, any hot quarterback, in the NFL. So it's look, World Cup's coming up. Soccer cards are huge, and it's not just that, just jerseys and memorabilia. And like I said, it blew me away. Like, it was a gamble. I'm glad I took the gamble because people read it, and there's such a huge interest. And there's so many stories out there, whether it's big, huge, in-depth stories or feel-good stories of a kid hitting a card that's worth $1 million, like out of a pack. Like, it's crazy.
And not diving into a political abyss, but with the way that the economy is right now, you can also be looked at as investment of sorts. I mean, because these cards not only hold their value, but if you do it right, it can be a major investment.
People are looking at this as alternative assets. I mean, that is a huge thing that is brought up in this world, and that's the thing. It's people worry that, all right, how high is too high for some of this stuff? But I mean, the interest is there, and people are buying cards and flipping cards and making money. Like, that's, but it could also be a dangerous place to do that if you're not doing it carefully. Like, that's one of the things that big stories that I just had earlier this week. One of the major platforms called Whatnot. I mean, they're being basically taken to arbitration, aka being sued privately, because it's being accused of basically being an illegal gambling ring. And that's a huge thing, to where people spend tons of money and kind of get sucked into this thing.
Sounds like crypto.
It really is. And inherently, if you're buying a pack of cards, you're gambling because you're hoping to get something. You can spend some money and get 50 cents worth of cards, and you just spent $100, like something crazy. But it's the way it is. People within that run these companies don't want to call it gambling, but we can all be honest. There is a massive gambling element to this.
There's no doubt about it. UBN wants to know. He says he has a serious question. That's very odd for him, by the way. He has thousands of baseball, basketball, and football cards from the 90s. What is the best option of getting someone to go through them and seeing what he has?
Well, from like 1987 to probably 1993, that's considered the junk wax era, and those cards are not worth that much because they were overproduced, and that's when cards went away, and they had to rebound. Again, this is all stuff I had to learn over the last year and a half, diving into this topic. So, but there are some that are still worth it. But look, there are apps out there where you could take a picture of the card, and it will give you the up-to-date value of it because it tracks sales from eBay and all this stuff. So instead of like going to Beckett, like an old school booklet, like you would get once a month, there is real-time sales being accumulated. Like as technology goes, I mean, that's the way it is too. So you could get real life and real time kind of comps on cards. So it's, but yeah, a lot of those cards, That was an era when I was growing up and picking up cards. You think you're going to go buy your next house with your Ken Griffey Jr. Upper Deck rookie card or your Jose
Got my
Canseco
Barry Bonds card.
Yeah, Barry Bonds and Jose Canseco rated rookie cards, and no, you're not going to go buy your new house unless it's like a cardboard box if that's what you want to do.
Mark Gapsky wants to know what are the best Tyler Shuck and Roman Anthony rookie cards to buy?
Ooh, boy. Well, anytime you're looking for a Roman Anthony card, his biggest hot cards are,
especially now if you hit his home run or whatever.
Bowman first cards. So they're technically not even his rookie cards. They're just his first cards. And that's like bigger than most rookie cards you'll ever see in the industry. Again, stuff I'm having to learn. Like Aaron Judge's first Bowman, it's like a 1-of-1 autograph card. I think it was a couple weeks ago. It sold, and it's the biggest sale for a modern card, aka not like a Mantle or a Maze or something like that. And it sold for $5.2 million. Like, you want to go find something like that. So, but those are expensive. But for Tyler Shuck cards, it's funny because Topps is going to come out with their set of cards that are licensed in a few weeks. But the main Tyler Shuck cards would be Panini Prisms. And so, yeah, that's kind of like the staple card. So I'm assuming like Topps Chrome when that comes out, that would be his staple rookie card. But there are a lot of options for Tyler Shuck. But Roman Anthony, I mean, he is monster right now. AKA you listen to this, Jim, for our fantasy baseball draft on Sunday. Connor Griffin is like through the roof in NL only in terms of cards. He is the guy. If you're collecting a young player in the NL, he is the guy. But like Roman Anthony, Kevin McGonigal, they're AL. We don't pay attention to those guys.
I've never really gotten into that, but I have a lot of friends who they live and die by this. I mean,
like JJ Weatherholt.
Yeah,
he's a hot name that's in the cards right now in terms of young players that we would pay attention to for our fantasy draft.
Yeah, I'm worried about the fantasy draft. I've been so damn busy. I'm sure you'll be happy to hear that I haven't had nearly the time that I usually do to be able to prepare. But
yeah, but you're not the person who's last at the table like me.
That's true. I'm right in the middle of the table, which sucks because I was on the bubble. I'm fifth. I'm the first one who has to, or the last one, I guess, that has to pay.
That's worse. Dinner. I've been there.
It is
way
the
too many
worst.
times. So
I'd rather be 10th. Yeah, it sucks. Yeah. Chad wants to know, is a signed Lou Holtz t-shirt worth anything at all?
Sure. Yes. Look, everything could be worth something, but no. Do I know how much that is off the top of my head? No. But I mean, yeah. If you, I mean, at this point, I mean, I would just keep it. Like, you're not gonna get rich off of it, but someone would buy it.
Okay. I got an Elvis autograph. Is that worth anything?
That's worth a couple bucks. Now it's got to be authenticated. Like, you can't just go on and say, hey, this is this. Why? I mean,
of course.
And if you're someone trying to go buy that stuff and you don't look for any of that stuff, you're bound to be scammed.
It's something my mother got in, I think, 61 or 62 when she was a teenager. She got it at the Roosevelt Hotel, and it's literally signed on the back of a Roosevelt Hotel envelope.
That's beautiful, man.
It really is. It's framed and it's phenomenal. A-Town says, is it true that Logan Paul sold a Pokemon card for $16 million?
Well, he didn't technically sell it. It went through Golden, of course, and Golden Auctions. That's the show on Netflix. I went and bid a big story up there a couple months ago, right on the heels of season 3. But yes, that card did sell. It's the highest publicly sold trading card in history.
Really?
That Pokemon card, yes, that he wears around his neck and goes and wrestles with. I mean, doesn't wrestle with the card on, but he shows it off. But now it's not his anymore. So now I will say that the fact his name was attached to the card helped the hype machine. A lot of the times this is all about hype. You get people get sucked in and that sort of thing. It's a rare card. I get it. I don't write about Pokemon. That's something I really don't know about. But if someone tells me it's worth that much, I mean, I guess if somebody wants to pay that much for it, I don't know. But the thing is, Pikachu never gets arrested. Charizard never, has a bad year. So those things.
They always bat 320, baby.
Oh, exactly. MVP every year. Even like Cheeto Zard. I think Golden sold like
You're not speaking my language. I have no idea what the hell you're talking about.
Charizard that looked like a hot Cheeto or something, and it sold for some absurd money.
Pokemon was after my time. I'm old. UBN says he has a Jim Derry autograph. Is that worth anything?
I have a few of those. I mean, that's probably I probably got to pay someone to take it.
Well, I mean, look, you do what you got to do. You know?
It's funny though. I do have colleagues from the Athletic that have autographs in like some Topps card baseball sets, and I'm kind of mad that I don't have one yet. Like I know everybody in that company. Why do I not have autograph cards in a set? I want to see how much they'd sell for.
Okay. Well, we don't know then, I guess the answer.
I'm sure it won't sell for much. Yeah.
And Lance, I'm sorry, but when I had to switch I got to put this back on there. He wants to hear the Duncan Holder music. It just starts playing in his head whenever you come on. And I meant to put the trombone shorty thing in here and let it sit in there.
I was about to say, it depends on your forum where you don't get copyrighted at that point.
I think it's okay as long as I've learned this through the copywriting thing, and now I'll say this so they'll be alert to it, and I'll screw myself. But as long as you don't play you can play songs as long as the vocal part of it isn't in there, and as long as you don't play a long clip of something. Like my intro is the intro to Dat is my brother-in-law and playing with Down, and when this in March the Saints, and when I would let it run through part of his voice, I'd get copyrighted. When I had to redo it so his voice isn't in there.
Well, the best part about hurricane season with Trombone Shorty is there is no vocals, so just play it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I will put it back in here, and the next time you come on, we'll talk. We'll definitely play it, and I meant to, but I switched over. I have obviously a different stream line than I had before because I am no longer with the mothership. And anyway,
join the club. Neither am I.
So we know how that goes. There is life after the mothership, by the way. All right, let's get into some of this free agent stuff and talk a little bit about the Saints. And first question, it's a good question because it kind of leads into free agent talk a little bit. And I know that you don't know, you're not as much in the inside, but you still have some knowledge of what's going on and just your take. I mean, you're following all this stuff. Sean wants to know, do you think Cam Jordan's next destination will come after the draft?
I would say probably so. Just you're through that phase of free agency and teams want to see what they can get in the draft, and then they figure it out afterwards. And also, I think a lot of teams, even veteran players, they opt like, why am I going to go work through OTAs and why am I going to do this? I could pick my spot. Like, and some of these players, I mean, they have to wait and see if injuries occur. I mean, that's where we are with Cam Jordan. I know he's coming off of statistically a really good season. I don't think there's any doubt in the league that Cam Jordan can't play anymore. I think everybody knows he can still play. But I do think that he can be choosy. Teams be a little bit more selective after this first phase of free agency. And it's funny because we just did, and I'm still making picks for the Saints in our beat writer mock drafts at The Athletic. And I did have to debate, and I heard you talking about Carnell Tate before I came on. That's the player I took. And even because, look, Jeremiah Love fell. If how do we pronounce his name? I need to know that. Travis Etienne, like almost like Etienne. All right,
yeah, you got a little Cajun thing going on.
All right, I can get down with that. Yeah, Travis Etienne. If they don't sign him, I'm taking Jeremiah Love because I did before free agency, and so now he kind of fell in our mock draft. But I had Ruben Tate was on the board. I mean, no, not Ruben Tate. Ruben Bain was on the board. Yeah. Carnell Tate. Look,
wow.
I was looking at
must have been some linemen. A couple linemen went before.
Yes. Yeah. So
okay. See that's what really could play into the Saints' favor. If a couple linemen go before the Saints pick, and obviously the Saints aren't going to pick a lineman at 8. That could really, which is unusual because that's what we've been talking about for the past few years. But I think it'd be very interesting to see what falls to the Saints at 8 if indeed a couple linemen get picked and maybe a Caleb Downs or something along those lines. It's going to be interesting.
Right. Caleb Downs went right before I picked because I was pondering him too. So he went right off the board right before me. But no, it really will. Look, the Saints, they've done plenty to improve themselves already in free agency. It leaves the door open for them to have options. And look, you don't necessarily, we always talk about best player available, this, that, and the other. The best player available, there could be a pod where they say, all right, these 3 guys, we can have a preference because maybe we have a little bit more of a need, but we like all of these players, and you couldn't really go wrong if you pick any of them. So I think that's a good spot. We haven't been able to say that in a lot of years, at least last few years, because they've had so many issues, and you're like, oh my gosh, this, that, and the other. You're not one player away, but like the Saints have improved themselves enough to where if they felt, man, we want to go take this wide receiver, and they have their choices at wide receiver. I mean, we have 3 wide receivers there that it really is just going to come down to what's your flavor preference, So I think that the Saints are in a good spot. I'm encouraged with what they've done, and you know me, Jim. It's been, even though I haven't been on the show in a long time, it's been a long time since I've been able to say that. I mean, I remember us debating quarterbacks and left and right, and I was like, you don't have one, and Taysom Hill. I was like, the fact we're still talking about this guy means they're not good enough to have to use this gadget player. We're not talking like that anymore. I like where they're at a quarterback. They can have a real boy offense finally of like and not some like silliness. Sorry, Taysom, but silliness.
Poor Taysom. I think his last NFL game has been played. Suave says is excited you're here. So
I appreciate that. I appreciate everybody shooting some comment love at me. It's been
they're definitely giving some comment love. Yeah, look, and again, I really don't remember last time you've been. It's been a minute for sure. But last year at this time, a month before the Saints were about to draft, you talk about the Saints aren't one player away, but last year this time they were probably, and I'm not exaggerating, they were probably 20 players away. I mean, legitimately. And now you could realistically say that what they've done in free agency, what they've done in last year's draft, and I mean, you might say there might be 4 or 5 players away from being really good. I mean, I still think next year is going to be kind of another rebuilding season in the grand scheme. I think people look, if you want to get hyped about your team, great, get hyped. I think obviously the team's moving in the right direction. I still think you're looking at another 7-10, 8-9 kind of season, which is okay as long as you keep making progress. But I really think that 2 years from now, or maybe next year at this time, as they're going to the draft, you're talking about a team that maybe has turned a corner and is starting to say, okay, in 2027, this team really can compete for something.
Well, look, I think they can win a division this year. I mean,
yeah,
it comes, because
of the question,
right? You just look at the competition around you, and if you're looking at the quarterback position for each of these teams, which quarterback's trajectory is pointing the highest? I mean, it's got to be Shuck. Look, Baker Mayfield has been good, but that Tampa's not what they used to be. Atlanta, I mean, my gosh, what are they going to do? Obviously, we know they brought in Tua Tagovailoa. Okay, great. Michael Penix, has he ever done anything for you? No. Bryce Young, my gosh, I don't care that they got to the playoffs and whatever. It's hard to even still buy him. So I think the trajectory is pointing upward the most for Shuck. And I think this team is actually they believe, that's the thing. I think they believe that they can be good. And I think that's a big deal, and they trust what's going on. So do I think they're Super Bowl contenders yet? No. But can they make the playoffs? For sure. So I think that is, you can't. When's the last time be able to say that? I mean,
with a straight face. I mean, if you're, unless you're just a fanboy, you couldn't. You haven't been able to say that realistically since probably. You thought maybe in 2021, the year after Breeze left, you thought maybe the Saints can find a way. but Jameis didn't stay healthy and blah, blah, blah. But after 2021, that realistically might have been the last time that any normal fan thought that could be a year the Saints could go to the playoffs. That's 5 years ago.
I don't know. The division was so bad, and like Derek Carr could play well at times. Like there was blips in the radar. Remember when they went 2-0 and everybody's like, "Oh my gosh!"
I bought into the
Saints.
BS. I bought into it. I mean, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Look, but again, look, just the overall feeling for this team compared to last year at this time, and I bring this up with, most guests that haven't been on for a little bit, or I've actually had a lot of first-time guests the last few weeks, but just talk about the state of this team. And, you touched on it, but I mean, do you really believe they can make the playoffs this year? I mean, what do you think? What has to happen for this team to be a legitimate playoff team in 2026? What do they need to get?
You know my mantra. If you have a quarterback, you have a chance. The Saints finally have a quarterback. I think
I agree.
He's only going to get better. And I'm not going to put anything like, oh my gosh, he's going to throw for 35 touchdowns and 4,500 yards and a 70% completion percentage. I mean, that would be like MVP type stuff. But if Sam Darnold can get you and win you a Super Bowl, I know their defense was great. I get it. But if that can happen and he could play well within that, I think Tyler Shuck, I think his ceiling is higher than Sam Darnold's. And so you're starting from there and you can build up because look, for Seattle was they were getting better.
Perfect example.
They were getting better with Geno Smith, but they kind of hit a wall. Then they said, all right, well, Sam Darnold's a little bit better. And they brought in a defensive coach and they had some good pieces around him. And then I do think things like a lot of stuff fell their way in terms of some teams weren't as good as maybe you thought they would be, this, that, and the other. And so especially in the AFC. I mean, the AFC, you didn't have to go through Mahomes. You didn't have to go through Josh. Like, right. It fell right for them. Like, here's the thing. I think if Denver would have got to the Super Bowl, Bo Nix doesn't get hurt, that right. Super Bowl is a much tighter game, and not everybody on the planet's basically picking Seattle.
Well, you not only that, you bring up Seattle and you talk about a young coach in Mike McDonald who obviously learned as he went along, and I think Kellen Moore, obviously an offensive-minded coach, not the same, but Kellen Moore, after he gets his feet wet and continues to learn, I think if you look at how the Saints were coached in the early part of the last season towards the end, there's no question that Kellen Moore started feeling more comfortable in the last 6 or 8 games of the year. And not just because Tyler Shuck was a quarterback, but there's just no question the calls that he made, just everything I thought was his press conferences were a little bit better, everything. And so I think you take that next step, just like Mike McDonald had to go through that with Seattle. I don't think anyone expected him to win a Super Bowl that quick as for a young coach, but maybe Kellen Moore is in that realm and can take the next step with these Saints over the next couple of years.
I mean, you evolve. Like, you have to evolve as a coach. Just because Sean Payton went to the NFC Championship game his first year, I mean, he still had to evolve. Like, right. I think he overachieved there.
No question.
And then it came back to the mean, and you had to evolve. And I think Kellen Moore, you saw was rough early. Then it's like, all right, now you get your solid ground at quarterback. You like what you're doing defensively. Brandon Staley, obviously, he was very good hire. I think that's
fantastic hire.
Yeah, and also the thing is here, and I think it's an underrated thing, I don't think teams are going to be running out to try to take him away to become a head coach again.
Agreed.
So I think you can have him for a while. So that's good. And kind of under the radar sort of thing. The Saints, if they win a Super Bowl, maybe he's well,
then you don't care.
Right. And it's like, all right, we won, we're good. Yeah, exactly. But no, I just think that we can see an evolution of what they're going to be doing. And we have not been able to see. It's been so long since we've said, oh, this Saints team is evolving. They've just been stuck, and you've been waiting for we're sludging through. Then it's got to really bottom out, and then you got to come back. So I think we are now on the upswing of the bottom out.
Well, I think that's absolutely true. When you look at, what what did the Lions done? The Lions went from 3-13 to 9-8 to 12-5 to 15-2. Now, obviously, it took a step back last year, but I'm not saying the Saints are 2 years away from being 15-2. I mean, that's 15-2 is ridiculous. But to go from 5-12 and then things change over and you finish strong, you go from 2-10 last year to finishing 6-11. If the Saints can go 8-9 or 9-8 this coming year, and then set themselves up to be a legitimate 11 or 12 win kind of team, I think that's absolutely reasonable to think that's possible.
I think it's reasonable to think it's possible they can win double-digit games next year. It helps when you play the schedule you're playing.
Mm-hmm.
You're playing the last place schedule. I think we can all say that helps.
It is tough, though. It is a little bit tougher, though.
Yeah, but I certainly think it helps a team like New England. Like, that's the thing. Like, you could maybe see like a quick jump up like the Saints maybe with New England, because if you look at New England's schedule, oh my gosh, I don't even know how they get through it. Like that is such a tough schedule for them. Really, I'm like, oh my gosh, I think they're going to have a come back to reality season this year. But I think, like I said, I know the Saints, but they're opponents, but they're playing better. They're playing their division that many times. Like, if you get to 10 wins, I don't think that is super unreasonable. I mean, I'm not going to go more than 10, but I mean, if you get to 10, I mean, I think that is not unheard of.
We got on the bottom of the screen the odds for what the current NFC South win totals are at DraftKings, and right now the odds makers are basically telling you they think the Saints are likely to win right at about 8 games. So either 7 or 8 games. I'm not touching this right now. I want to see how the schedule lines up. I want to see how the draft lines up. We still got a little ways to go, but I don't think anything you said is crazy. I think 10 wins is up. Where last year I said 0.0 chance they win 10 games.
Agreed.
Or maybe I said 0.3 and Gabe said 0.0. He's a Texas fan who was going to buy a Saints jersey and wear it on the air if the Saints actually would have won 10 games. But this year, I think it's probably, at this point, I'd say 30%. I think it is a realistic number.
But I've had to shave my head. Shave my head if they did that.
Oh you want to do it again? You want to say that again here on the air? You want to make news that you'll shave your head if the Saints win 10 games?
I've already done it before, but that's when I legitimately didn't think they would. Like, I think it's actually sort of possible that they can this time. At that point in life in 2017, after they're basically Rob Gronkowski's like stepping on Marcus Williams to go into the end zone.
Right.
And then the Saints rattle off 8 wins in a row. And so then I'm all you got to do
I'm
is
gonna have to find that clip again. I got it somewhere buried in the
It's easy to find.
It is easy to find.
A Larry Holder image on the internet of my head shaved, especially down the middle.
He had also partaken in a little bit of the gold foam.
1,000,000% to get through that. Yes. You know how awesome my hair
That's
is.
what makes it even more funny.
I did not. Now that story is so funny because I remember a certain managing editor was trying to tell me not to partake anymore. And I said, "Are you getting your head shaved? Is this about you or is this about me?" And I just did the shot right in front of her. I'll just tell you that, right in front of her. I'm like, tough. Too bad.
We all love you, JLE, wherever you are out there. I don't think she's watching, but if she is, Chad wants to know, it says he's worried a little bit about a sophomore slump with Shock. Hope it doesn't happen, but it definitely does happen a lot.
Oh, sure. I just think that he's got better pieces around him than he did last year. Like the fact that he did what he could do with the pieces he had around him last year. I just think people who aren't paying attention to the Saints, and rightfully, like national media, why are they paying attention to him? There's nothing to pay attention to right now, especially last year. But so they didn't watch him close enough. But I got to watch him and not have to worry about writing in this, that, I just got to watch him last year, and you saw him get better and better towards the back end of the season, obviously. And so, it should be better. Like everything should be better then. And so the fact that Tyler Shuck did that with those pieces, I just only think that really there's no. To me, I know we can put a ceiling at 10 wins, but I really just think that he can just only improve, and the Saints offense can only improve.
I do want to touch on before we just move on a little bit, but the title slide for today's show is, what are the best options left at free agency? Do you think the Saints will make any more splashes in free agency? And obviously, I put these two guys on that I have on the screen. And if you're listening to the audio only podcast, L'Jarius Sneed and Jawan Jennings, they might not necessarily be the best guys available, but I think they might be the best guys available if you're talking about the Saints. And did we see the Saints make any more big splashes in free agency before the draft?
I would not think before the draft. I mean, like I said a few minutes ago about Cam Jordan. I mean, at that point, you wait. Like
Right.
they went and splish splash way more than I ever thought I'd ever see them splish splash in free agency. But I think they made the right moves that helped them immediately, and at positions where they probably you can only address one spot with the first round pick, and Jeremiah Love, he could easily not be there at 8, and that's the thing. Corner could be there at 8. If you wanted an edge rusher, could be there at 8. So I think they went and addressed and interior offensive lineman. You weren't going to take someone that high at 8, and you got a proven guy. And so I think that they don't need to do that quite yet. Will they? I feel like that. I'm still a little suspect at corner. I know they've got a couple of solid guys, but could they?
I think if they did something, I think
lose
corner.
Alontae Taylor. I mean, you lost him. I mean, seemed like
I think corner is the most. If they're going to do anything else in free agency and make a quote unquote splash, and not just a couple little pieces here and there, I actually think that corner would be where they would go. And Lance says he wants Sneed, kick Quincy Riley into the slot, but only if we get Love at number 8. So I think if it's going to be one of those two guys, I think Sneed is obviously the most likely, or one of the potential cornerbacks that's available. And right now, the top notable free agents at cornerback, you got Trayvon Diggs, Marshawn Lattimore's not coming back, Adoree Jackson. Look, I just think that it's potential that's where the Saints make a move. I don't necessarily think they're going to do that, but if they were, I think that's probably where they would go.
But you also got to remember, if a corner is in free agency right now, there's a reason why they're
exactly 100%.
So I have to tell people that all the time.
Yeah, people don't let their fantastic corners go.
Right. There's a reason why a corner hits free agency. Yeah. Like a team says, look, we can live without him. But also someone like Alontae Taylor, they said, look, we have to move our assets somewhere else. Someone else is going to pay big money for him. So good for him. I think that's great for him. Anytime a player can get huge money, I'm all about it, and good for him. I mean, it's almost like, man, you wish you could have been better and you had him play better on a cheaper contract, but you didn't. So it's just the way it is. But still, I do think corner needs to be somewhere in the plan. I'm sure it is.
I'm sure one way or another. And if they don't get one in free agency, I think I don't think that's where they go at number 8, but I could definitely see them doing that with a second round pick at number 40 or whatever it is. I mean, that would make a lot of sense. And there are quite a few corners in the draft this year. Here with Larry Holder on this Friday morning, our old friend from The Athletic, formerly of the Times-Picayune, NOLA.com, like someone else that's on this screen. If you would consider supporting the channel, we would love it if you would give us a thumbs up. If you would subscribe to the YouTube channel if you have not done so already. All right, let's a couple little things real quick before. UBN does have a point. If Tennessee lets you go, are you really any good?
Yeah, but they're also they're in perennial rebuild mode at this point.
Perennial rebuild mode. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
I just want to touch on a couple things before I let you go. You've been great, very gracious with your time as you always are this morning. But LSU women playing Jacksonville, and I had to take a double check at this line. The Tigers, the Lady Tigers, are 51.5 point favorites to win their game. I mean, what kind of silly bird is going to give 51.5?
I have never seen a 51.5 line.
Neither have I
in my life. Like, you're always seeing like 40s in football. I have never seen 51.5. And it's not like LSU's UConn or like the number one seed. That's what makes it even more crazy. Like, what's UConn? Like, what are their odds in their opening round game? I think
Gabe's going to look that up for me right now. Gabe's going to look that up for me right now. But 51.5-point favorites for a 2 seed over a 50. That's not stuff you don't really see that in men's basketball.
No.
I mean, I'm sure it's happened.
Look at Siena yesterday with Duke. My gosh,
what a game! That was crazy.
Yeah.
The Duke did make a run towards the end of the game there. Gabe says that UConn is a 54.5-point favorite over Texas San Antonio.
Maybe that's more the norm in women's basketball because I mean, I do think there's probably less parity in women's basketball than
there's no question.
Men's college basketball. So you could probably run into these maybe more than we know.
Does Kim Mulkey have a run in her? I mean, look, I'm a big Floje fan, so I'd love to see them make a run, not just because it's LSU, but to give her one last hurrah. But does Kim Mulkey have a run in her? Can they got to beat some odds to get to the Final Four, especially on the same side as UCLA?
I'd never say no, considering they won a national championship as a 3 seed.
That no one thought it was going to happen.
Right. So I would, if you got Kim Mulkey, you always got a chance. I mean,
yeah.
and that's what. Frankly, I mean, that's what keeps people coming to the seats at the PMAC. I mean, you have her, you always got a shot. Really, you really and truly do.
Afternoon basketball in Baton Rouge. The LSU Tigers taking on Jacksonville, the 2 versus the 15. How's your bracket looking, by the way? Did you do one this year?
Don't have one.
You don't have one?
My son has 2.
Okay.
And it's funny. He was, my wife was bringing him home from school yesterday, and he's looking at his bracket, and he's just like shaking his head. And I was like, son, that's why you do 2 of these things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then not only that, after this round, they'll have the second chance bracket. You can go and fill out a brand new one with 32 teams in it if you really want to.
Right.
That floats you. But I joked. Like, I did one because Gabe had set one up for the Dattitude members that we kind of like just doing one for a goof. We're not winning anything, but
yeah.
So what do I know? So, but I did get VCU right last night. Got Texas. So
yeah.
But all my Sweet 16 teams are still alive. So we'll see what happens going forward. I don't know how much you've paid attention to LSU baseball, but it's been a rough couple of weeks there. I was surprised to see this. The Tigers actually favored against Oklahoma. Southeastern defeated Oklahoma. Was it Oklahoma, Gabe? That Southeastern beat 3-0 in a midweek game this week. So midweek games. We always joke about that. That don't mean that much in the grand scheme of things. But you just, even as bad as they are, LSU's dropped out of the top 25 in the rankings. However, as of this morning, they are still 6th among favorites to win the College World Series, which I always find interesting. It's kind of like betting the Yankees in baseball. They're always going to be up there until they're not.
Yeah, that was a wild free fall in the last few weeks. I saw that they started out hot, and I said, all right, well, I just assumed they'd stay hot, and now they haven't. So, but yeah, obviously, I'll be honest, I don't pay that much attention.
I know you don't. You don't have time to but I just threw it up there because we can throw a few bucks on the top. I mean, that's not great value at plus 1,600, but maybe we'll do it just for a goof to throw it up there. What are you looking forward to most in the draft that's coming up? You guys you talk about doing a mock draft at the Athletic, but what are you looking forward to most about this draft? Is there anything, I always say, obviously we know who's going to be drafted first, but to me, there are more questions between 2 and 8 when the Saints pick than maybe there have been in many years.
Well, there's no real consensus because you don't have quarterbacks flying up the board. Like that, to me, usually drives the draft. And you know who number 1 is going to be. And then everything else is, hey, we'll see. I think that will make this intriguing. And you always wonder if there's going to be these wild trades, but again, I don't know if that's going to happen because are people going to really fly up the board, for one of these players? I don't know. Probably, my guess would be probably not.
Right,
but still, I do think that just again that there's no quarterback that you're really looking at. Like for me personally, I'm just curious to see where Garrett Nussmeier goes. I mean,
Yeah, so
because if he wasn't hurt and he had a good season,
he's going to be a steal for somebody, in my opinion.
I agree. I think we have him as our number 3 quarterback. I think Dane Brugler has him.
So a second round pick?
I think we only have 3 quarterbacks in the top 100, and that's odd. Like that's a rarity. But yeah, I do think that it could be a little bit of a ho-hum draft. Just like I said, not as many quarterbacks, this, that, and the other. That always drives it. But
I think the top half of the first round is going to be lots of fun. I mean, it always is, I guess. But it's kind of, well, duh. But maybe the back half, I've been looking at a lot of mocks lately, just kind of going through them and going past the Saints and see what's going to be around. Maybe the back half of the first round isn't as exciting as it usually is.
That's the thing. Yeah. A lot of times, and we always say it every year, like teams do not have 32 first round grades on guys.
Right.
And I'll be curious to see. And I think teams are a little even tighter on that than they used to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think that that you get to a point probably mid first round, and it could go all over the place. But I think also even early, like people are going to have different grades on different guys. And so with that being said, I'm wondering how everybody's going to be jazzed up, but is it going to have that kind of sizzle?
Yeah.
It might not be, because the last sizzle, really big sizzle we had was a few years ago when you had 6 quarterbacks going to top 12. I mean, that's like, pow, like, wow. Okay.
Well, watching Shedeur fall down to the fifth round last year was insane. I mean, I'm not making fun. I'm not at all. I'm not trying to be funny here, but I made a prediction that I thought it would slip. Doug Mouton told me I was crazy because I thought he was going to go in the second round. Doug Mouton told me I was absolutely nuts. No way it was going to happen. Nobody thought he was going to drop as far as he dropped. I mean, so
right.
There's always something like that happens every year. I don't know who it's going to be this year. Somebody's going to be in the green room and they're going to keep shining their camera on him, and I don't know who it's going to be, but there will be someone. So. And by the way, Sean, there's almost a 0.0 chance that Nussmeier will be around in the 5th round. But the answer is no. The Saints wouldn't. I don't think the Saints would draft Nussmeier if he was available. That's just my opinion. So the answer is no. I don't think
that
so.
would be a bad dynamic.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
And if he's that low, and I think
you're not going to bring him in to play for his dad. That just Now, if his dad was a head coach, maybe, and Doug Nussmeier was a head coach somewhere, you maybe could be more inclined. But you're not going to see that for a quarterback coach or an offensive coordinator. You're just not.
Garrett was like a top 10 pick, or
well, that's different.
Like it's different. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. First of all, and again, I don't see him getting. I know a lot of people think he's a 3rd round pick, but I don't see him getting past the 2nd round. I really don't. I think he's going to go in the 2nd round.
Just knowing how teams are, like they will take a quarterback a little higher if they feel like there's a need for one.
For sure. What did you think of the World Baseball Classic? Did you watch it?
Oh, I thought it was exciting.
It was.
Yeah, I think that's it's funny because there's so much talk about after this year there's going to be a work stoppage, and it's like when you get this sort of like bang, it's like, man, you don't figure it out. I know that doesn't tie into a salary cap in Major League Baseball, but still, I do think that there is a growing momentum that, especially even here, like in the U.S., like people want to play for the U.S. And I do think, though, that it really brings added interest because you've got all these other countries. It's not like the U.S. is a shoe-in to win. I mean, we don't.
No.
Last time they won, it's been a minute since they've won it all. So it's also funny. It's like, all right, Shohei Ohtani's in Japan and they won, but they didn't even get to what? The semis?
That's right. They didn't get to the semis.
Right. So I think that it's a toss-up, and I think it's super intriguing, and you see the energy there. And I think that's a really good thing because baseball could use all the energy it can get. And I think that's a huge thing.
Look, and I know some teams complain about it and whatever, and you look at a guy like who happens to be on my fantasy team. You look at a Seiya Suzuki who, injures himself in running bases or whatever it is, and his knee's banged up. I mean, it looks like he escaped major damage, but it's going to happen. I mean, but I just think that what it brings to baseball itself is absolutely worth it. And again, I thought it was just fun as hell. And look, don't get me wrong, I root for the United States, but I think it's great that the U.S. isn't winning every time. Or Japan's out there winning. Someone new wins. Venezuela's out there winning. I just think it's more fun like that,
Oh, I love the parody. I mean, but it just goes to show you just,
I mean, who would have thought that the Italians?
Right. But is Aaron Nola really Italian? Like, should he really?
Yeah. I mean,
but they need to look. They need to
Michael Lorenzen.
They need to spread it out to have enough players to do that. But I'm okay with that. But still, it's. I just think it brings it added excitement. I thought you saw it, a few years ago when they had it, and so I think people were really excited about it. And I just think it brings a flair. And I don't know if there's a right way to do it. You're always going to be, you do it in the off season. Oh my gosh, well everybody's tired, and then you do it before the major league season. Oh, well, we don't get the same work, and then they say you try to do it in mid season. Oh, but there's always going to be some sort of hemming and hawing.
It's never going to be perfect. I mean, you can't play it in December. You don't really want to take a 3-week break in the middle of the season, and then not only that, you screw up your pitchers. I think now is really the only time that you could do it. I mean, if you want to push back the start of the season on years that you have the World Baseball Classic and start, I don't know, the second week of April and give them an extra week or two to get ready, then fine, do that. But I think this is really good for the sport, and I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon.
It's definitely not going to go anywhere. I think they want to build it up and make more money off of it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what else isn't going away, and that's the Donzi Rainey League, which is our draft is Sunday. We've already made a trade. We've already made a trade, and I look forward to seeing you Sunday. It just sucks that you and I both have to pay for everybody else's char-grilled oysters.
I made a big run the previous year and almost pulled a rabbit out of a hat to win it. So that was a good run. But sometimes the pieces, they don't fall together like they should, and then you gotta trust me. As everybody in our league knows, man, I cut bait when I got to cut bait. I'm doing it. And I'm reloading to come back with a force. Or if I'm going all in, boy, I'm really going all in.
Yeah, I probably try too hard to finish fourth, which I always advocate against. I mean, you shouldn't really do that. But, I did it anyway, and it backfired. And I gave away some of my players that I probably shouldn't have gave away. And now I'm, 2 years in a row out of the money is very unusual and doesn't sit well. And my wife almost kicked me out of the house when she heard I missed the money 2 years in a row. Just saying, just kidding. All right, well, I will see you on Sunday, my friend, and we will have our wallets fat.
Well, our establishment we go to, they take care of us very well.
They absolutely do. And I will see you there on Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon.
One of my favorite days, seriously.
Absolutely.
Days of the year. Absolutely.
Looking forward. Maybe we'll make a trade before then. Who knows? We already made one.
Good.
All right. See you next time. Larry Hold, everybody, making his way back to the Dattitude podcast. It had been a little bit, and I'm glad he is back for sure. I didn't think he was going to be on that long. Gabe and I were talking before the show, and I thought it would be a shorter show today, but every time I think it's going to be a shorter show, it ends up being longer. So maybe we shouldn't even say that. Brian wants to know, is 8 too high for the safety out of Ohio State, Caleb Downs or Mansour Delane? Not for Downs, yes for Delane, in my opinion. I just don't think the Saints can look. I know where I'm at, and somebody gave me grief the other day. Or it sounds like you're backing down from your promise of you would go ballistic. Like, people, I guess, want to see me go ballistic. You said you would go ballistic if the Saints took a defensive player at number 8. Now you're backing off. I'm like, well, I told you why. I mean, they went out and got their number 1 need, which was guard, and their number 2 need, which was running back. So I still think they should go offense, but I'm not going to go insane. Now, if they go cornerback, I'm not going to go ballistic. If they draft Mansour Delane, I mean, I'm not going to lose my mind or anything, but I just don't think that's where this team should go. That's just my opinion. I'm in the minority. I think if Love's still there, I think they still should do that. Adam wants to know, do I think the Saints will make any more moves before the draft? I actually think what Larry thinks. I don't think they're going to make any big moves. So I know that doesn't exactly. I'm not trying to get clickbait when I ask the question in my title slide, because I think it's possible that they make a big move. I just don't think they're going to. That's just my opinion. Lance wants to know, do we think the rat is better than a healthy Nussie? That's not. I don't know the answer to that, but I don't think that matters. I don't think they're going to go after Nussmeier. It just doesn't make me. We've talked about this multiple times. Spencer Rattler is still on his rookie deal. Is going to be for 2 more years. He's a fine backup. Is he a great backup? No, but he's fine. I just think when you were talking about unless you got a really strong backup, I think you're just kind of hosed. Yeah. First of all, this team is just not good enough to go to its backup quarterback, in my opinion. I mean, they might not be good enough with its first string quarterback, much less its second string quarterback. So I don't think it matters in the grand scheme of things. That's why you just don't spend the money. And you look, the Saints are, and you don't spend draft capital either. The Saints are not going to spend what it takes to get Nussmeier. Nussmeier is not going to the 5th, 4th round. I think the latest that Nussmeier goes is the 3rd round. I think he's going to be an NFL quarterback. I really do. So I guess if I'm just answering your question, I think Nussmeier is better than Rattler. I would rather have Nussmeier than Rattler. However, that doesn't mean that I think the Saints should go out there and get a quarterback, because I think Spencer Rattler is fine as a backup again, and you're not spending the money. So anyway, I just think that the next 5 weeks, and we're going to be talking about draft a whole bunch. I mean, that's what we're going to be talking about going forward. And I just think that the Saints are in pretty good shape. I think no matter what they do, I think there's probably 4 or 5 legitimate options for the Saints at 8 right now. And I would be we'll go over what those 8 are. You know pretty much who they are, but I would be very surprised if they go outside of those 8. Again, something we'll be talking about forward. All right, about to bring Gabe Henderson on and get to that date. Again, we would appreciate it if you please consider supporting the channel. The best way to do that is subscribe to our YouTube page. Although we've been getting a lot of love on Facebook, we're on there. If you're watching us on YouTube and you want to find us on Facebook, you can do that too. It's actually under my name on Facebook. I turned my personal page into a Dat page about 6 months ago, and the show also airs on Facebook. But we would love you. If you are not a member on YouTube, please go and subscribe. We do lots of shorts, a lot of little short takes we take from this show. We'll run at least 1 over the weekend, and then we run usually 2 during the week. Although with grandson number 3 here, only ran 1 this week. Kind of ran out of time. You know what else we would ask you to do? We would ask you to pay attention for the next 30 seconds, because we told you earlier we'll let you know more about how Evangeline Securities can help you figure out what your family-run or privately held business might be worth and whether it's time to sell. And then you ask, well, how do they do it, Jim Derry? Oh, I'll tell you. After their complimentary valuation of your company, if you decide to proceed, native New Orleanian Nick Braden and the folks at Evangeline, they will begin an extensive auction process from among established private equity funds from around the whole wide world, not just Louisiana, not just the United States, the whole wide world. You got the whole world in your hands. They will maximize the return for the founder and his or her family. Evangeline Securities is the top producer on their platform. There are very few companies like them in this area, and you know what the number is. You know how many with their dedication and success. That would be 0.0 with their dedication and success. They are fully licensed. They're ready to serve you. So get in touch with Nick Braden about what's really important. And it's not what Pokemon card you should buy or what card from the 80s you might have sitting in your locker that might be worth some money. No, you know what's really important? The rest of your life. Hot. Get it at Dot's Dine Hot. The rest of your life. But you can find them at www.evangelineSecurities.com. Are we ready for a little bit of that date? It is Friday. It's Gabe Henderson, and you're on a little bit later than I thought you would come on, but you know, it is okay. What it is.
For what it's worth, I don't think Garrett Nussmeier is an NFL quarterback.
I know you don't.
Personal against the guy. I don't think he has the poise.
I know.
And I just, yeah. Anytime he's faced with any sort of pressure, he just wilts.
I completely disagree. I couldn't disagree more. But that
Really,
doesn't
ask
matter.
Texas A&M. Remember when he threw those 3 picks and completely pissed that game away single-handedly?
He had no offensive line, and nobody gave a shit.
Worked in the first half. They were doing just fine until he started turning the ball over. He turns the ball over too much. He doesn't read a defense as well as he should. I have seen nothing from him to suggest he's going to be.
I know. You've never liked Garrett Nussmeier. I understand. Sean wants to know, do we see the Saints bring in a free agent to draft the third quarterback? I don't think so. I don't think there's any reason to. I think they already have 3 quarterbacks. Yeah, I don't think they're going to do that. So the answer is
unless they really see the need for a veteran, but I don't. If they did, they would have brought one in by now.
I don't think it is. I don't see any reason why you would draft one, certainly. So
no, they're definitely not going to draft one.
All right, are you ready for Dat Date? Are you going to enjoy this one? And especially when you see the cover here. You will see it in just a second. Dat Date, the randomizer picked a good one. It's out of the complete blue. The year is 2017. And back on the front page of the Times-Picayune, the Advocate, back on this date in 2017 was the search was heating up. It sounds like it's a repeat. I mean, 2026 might as well be 2017 because on the top of the sports, they put it above the banner, much less above the fold. Will Wade was emerging as a front runner for the LSU job. Of course, as you all know, he got the job. They were talking to Will Wade, and some people think they're talking to Will Wade right now. So that was at the top. That was at the top of they were eyeing. Will Wade was the coach of VCU, who is obviously having a good tournament right now. Meanwhile, also the Pels were trying to jockey their way into the playoffs, and the Unibrow scored 28 points and had 12 rebounds, as you see a picture of them there below the rim. In a 123-109 win over Minnesota. It would not happen. The Pels, it seems like every time we talk about the Pels in history, they stunk. And they stunk this year too. They finished 34-38 under Alvin Gentry and missed the playoffs.
This was 9 years ago, and the city of New Orleans still has not received a thank you from Anthony Davis.
F. Anthony Davis. Like, seriously.
It's just not going to happen. He's never going to write New Orleans.
It isn't. The only other real local news, local sports news on this date, which was a Monday, by the way, Monday, March the 20th, 2017, was that on the front page, because it had happened the day before, obviously, LSU baseball finished a sweep of Georgia with a 7-6 victory. Nationally, on this date back in 2017, Michigan beat Louisville to reach the Sweet 16 after they had survived a plane accident. I don't remember that at all. Do you? You remember that?
No.
I have no. I had to look that up. Lonzo Ball was leading UCLA. Meanwhile, lower seeds like USC, Rhode Island, and Wichita State advanced to the Sweet 16. The 2017 NCAA Tournament had its best ratings in 24 years. And in the NBA, Devin Booker scored 70 points with the Phoenix Suns against the Boston Celtics. Now it's time to have some fun on Dat Date
too, if I recall correctly.
Did they? I don't know.
I believe so.
I should have paid more attention, I guess. All right. Okay, I want to ask you a question. I'll just tell you that on this date because I was going to turn it into a question. I like to turn a lot of these into question. Okay. Well, you wouldn't know the answer to this, so I didn't even waste my time making a question. But on this date in 1985, there's been a lot of boxing and tennis stuff going on. Boxing, one of the most famous fights in boxing history was called, all the big fights have names like the Thrill in Manila and whatever. This one was called The War. It was in 1985, 41 years ago, as I was 2 months away from graduating from high school. Marvin Hagler defeated Thomas Hearns to win the World Heavyweight Championship of the World. We told you a little bit something about this the other day on Wednesday's Dat Date, but on this date in 1995, Michael Jordan actually returned to the NBA wearing number 45, and he scored 19 points against the Indiana Pacers. All right, here's a question for you. Okay. On this date in 1976, what NBA great he was in the NCAA tournament he was starting to get all kinds of pub. He was the latest, greatest thing in NCAA basketball. He would end up being an NBA great. And his name rose up the charts and leading this previously almost unknown school in the NCAAs. In 1976, who was it?
Larry Bird.
It was Larry Bird. And what was the school?
Indiana State.
Indiana State. Larry Bird and Magic
fun
Johnson
fact
started their love-hate relationship.
It's where Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, otherwise known as Robbie Avila, who plays for St. Louis, came from originally.
I did
St.
not
Louis
know
picked
that.
up like a 30-point win over Georgia last night.
Wow. Okay. Well, and it wouldn't be long before Larry Bird and Magic Johnson were all the rave and ended up in the Final Four in 1979, I believe. I think it was 1979. So that would have been Larry Bird was a freshman in Indiana State. All right. The first ever World Baseball Classic ended on this date in 2006. Who won and who was the MVP?
Was it Japan that won?
They did.
Ichiro?
Ichiro was the MVP of the world. Good job there on this date, March 20th. Back. Oh,
there's another nickname.
Milk Chamberlain.
Milk Chamberlain. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
I get it.
Yeah,
I get it. And then the last question on this date, March 20th. We got to get this segment sponsored. On this date in 1999, and if you don't get this, I don't care if it's hockey. If you don't get this, I'm just going to stop asking you questions because this is ridiculous if you don't know this.
Before you ask me, the answer is Sidney Crosby.
No, Sidney Crosby is younger. Sidney Crosby is in the 2000s. This all-time hockey great scored his final goal in 1999.
Okay. I didn't know if it was going to be a drafted question or I don't know what it was. The answer is probably Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah, it is. It's not probably. It is Wayne Gretzky. And then some big birthdays on this date.
Yep.
I'll give you the one that's not related to New Orleans. There are 3 birthdays worth mentioning on this date. You probably don't know who this is, I'm guessing. Oh, this was a huge football player. I mean, he was a fantastic. We've got 2 linebackers on this list. One of them is linebacker Carl Banks, turned 64 today. He was born in 1962. Was a huge member of the Giants run, and with Lawrence Taylor. The reason why you don't know him probably is because he was on the other side from Lawrence Taylor, and he was a fantastic linebacker. Carl Banks was born in the state in 1962. Speaking of linebackers from this era or that era, it's unbelievable. Turning 68 years old today, the city champ, Ricky Jackson, is 68 years old today. He was our guest on episode number 57. Of course he was, because he's number 57. Way back in interesting. Way back in the day. 57, number 57 turns 68 today. That is hard to believe. I saw him in person, sat next to him playing poker I had a couple hours to talk to him probably 2 years ago, maybe. And I couldn't believe how good this dude looks. It's amazing what he looks like. He looks like he's in his low 50s. Looks younger than I do. Well, Ricky Jackson is 68. And then, do you know turns 26 years old today? You have any idea? NBA player turns 20. I would have never. It's hard to believe this dude is 26 years old. We've been talking about him as a kid forever.
Jason Tatum?
No. Zion Williamson. Is 26 years old today. Remember when he was here and he's a 19-year-old? That's how long that dude has been here doing stuff, whatever.
Doing stuff. That's the best way to put it.
I'm not going to be mean. I'm just not.
Or as Jeff Teague's podcast refers to him as Freaky Z.
Freaky Z.
Freaky Z is his
wow.
nickname.
Okay. Zion Williamson. UBN says his knees are 56. His belly's 16, though, because he can eat whatever he wants, apparently. Chad says he's doing nothing. He's doing a little bit.
Good stuff.
Will he still be here? Is the question. Next year. When he turns 27, will he still be here?
Probably. He probably will be because
Probably
the Saints
will.
front office, or not the Saints, the
Same
Pelicans
difference.
front office has no idea what it's doing.
If
they were smart, If they were smart, Derek Queen is like the only player that should still be on the Pelicans roster next year. You got to blow it up and build around him.
Probably right. Before we let you go this morning, just because I didn't show it the other day, I feel compelled to put this on the screen. I just do. I know.
I will say you didn't
love the Titans' new logo.
I could have missed it when you talked with Larry briefly about LSU. Did you talk about Kason Evans last night?
I did not. As a matter of fact, I'm glad you brought that up. A 7-1 victory for the LSU Tigers. Kason Evans. How about this line? I did not see the game because I was watching other stuff, but went 7-2 there in Jennings. Only gave up 3 hits, no earned runs. The only run scored by Oklahoma in the 6th inning was unearned. The Tigers did have some errors. They had they only had 1 error. Oklahoma had 3 errors, but 15 strikeouts.
Yeah.
Wow, Kason Evans, fantastic. Only walked 1, 15 strikeouts. Yeah. So does that mean that
with this pitcher staff.
So when we're talking about pitchers, I think maybe you got a little bit too excited there that the demise of the LSU Tigers is a little bit overrated. Ahmed says Queen is slow as molasses and is a 2-inch vertical. I think that's a little harsh.
So
David Nola says also Derek Queen doesn't play any defense. He's Zion with less athleticism and probably worse attitude. Ryan?
Probably worse attitude. The only person with a worse attitude in the NBA than Zion is John Morant.
Okay. I mean,
I know we don't want to spend a whole lot of time, especially because we're wrapping up on the NBA, but the Western Conference between the Thunder and the Spurs, they are so far ahead of everyone else that the only option that the bottom dwellers have is to blow everything up and hope to get lucky with the young talent who should be peaking around the time that these teams are on the down.
Yeah, maybe you're right. I don't know.
The Spurs and the Thunder are going to run the Western Conference for the foreseeable future.
Well, they're talking they're talking about the Pels potentially with expansion. The Pels could move to the East. That would be
the rumor I saw was either Minnesota or Memphis to the East.
Yeah, I've seen all 3 of them at some point.
Which I know UBN loves to talk about realignment. I believe Memphis and Minnesota are both more west than New Orleans by a few miles.
That doesn't mean jack shit. So and so is here, Cincinnati and Cleveland and Indianapolis and whoever.
Well, it's pretty
give a rat's ass if
clear
they're
cut.
I mean,
pretty clear cut with the NBA.
Atlanta used to be in the National League West in baseball.
Yeah, no, but that's a bit different with baseball. But with the NBA, you split it east and west in the United States. It should be pretty cut and dry. I wish they would just change these names to like somebody's name or make up some name so people would stop saying so and so's not in the West. I don't give a damn. I actually like the divisions that everybody's in. NBA. And I know this is a bit of a rhetorical question. Did you know the NBA still have divisions?
Yeah, but they don't pay. I don't know why they have divisions.
They just get rid of divisions. You don't need divisions in the NBA.
I agree. Yeah, it's completely worthless. The only time
no one cares.
The only time it ever matters, I think, is if you win your division, you get an automatic berth in the playoffs.
I don't think that's a thing anymore.
I think it is actually. But not that it would ever come into play that you wouldn't be one of the top.
They did away with that.
No, I'm pretty sure. I mean, you could be right. I don't pay enough attention, so if you were right, it wouldn't surprise me at all.
I mean, chances are, with how many teams get into the playoffs, especially with the play-in,
exactly.
Chances are
it's never going to come into play.
If you're winning a division, you're going to be in those
sure.
spots anyway.
Yeah. So who cares? I mean, who cares just in general? But I mean, it's like, I hate the whole. I'm sorry. I don't want to see Dallas in a division that doesn't involve the New York Giants or the Washington Commanders or the Philadelphia Eagles. I just don't. Okay. I don't want to see the Saints would be in the division with. I don't want to see the Saints in a division with the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Houston Texans. I mean, Who wants to see that? I mean, y'all, you like your division, right?
Well, if the Saints, I don't know how they would break it up, but I
mean, then you'd have to move conferences. We're not moving the Saints to the AFC or the Texans and Jags to the NFC. It's not happening. Yeah. So this whole argument about let's put them as close. I don't need to see Miami, Tampa Bay, or maybe Jacksonville and whatever, Carolina in division, whatever. Who cares if they got it?
But here, that's where I'm kind of going with this. The NBA is so cut and dry. They cut the country in half, East and West. So more so than other sports. Like there's no way to correctly do it with the NFL or really the MLB.
Conferences don't even really matter. I will say this, in the NBA, conferences don't really matter. In the NFL and baseball, they absolutely matter.
Yeah, exactly. The NBA just cut the country in half geographically, pretty cut and dry. The 16, because I think they're going to go to 32 franchises. The 16 easternmost franchises go in the East. 16 westernmost go into the West. It's not hard.
I gotta say, I just don't care.
Charles, it's not that easy. They are not going to do that.
Yeah. They're not trading Queen back to Atlanta.
Why would they trade you back an unprotected first? That's just teams don't. Well, I mean, that goes to show you again,
and I said this before. It's funny, people hating on Derek Queen now when the first 20 games of the year, everybody loved him, and now they're hating him again because whatever. But we said it back then. We don't care. It wasn't how Derek Queen could become a top 10 player in the NBA. It's still not. You don't trade that pick. It was a ridiculous trade. So anyway,
trading an unprotected first is insanely stupid.
Yeah, I agree. All right, we will see you on Monday. I'm assuming is going to be a Mono-y Monday, so we'll have a lot of fun. I don't know what I'm sure it'll be. A little bit of everything talk. We'll talk about brackets. We'll talk about LSU baseball. I mean, you would be hope we don't talk too much about LSU women because the only reason why you'd really talk about them is if they lost, and they better not lose before the Sweet 16.
I believe I have them going to the Final Four in my bracket, but that was being generous.
You haven't beaten UCLA?
I didn't want to put UCLA in and have all 4 1 seeds. That was the only thing that. So I did the homer thing and put LSU in. I don't see the other 1 seeds losing.
Okay. So, well, I didn't do a women's bracket, but I barely did a men's bracket.
One at 4 a.m. this morning when I couldn't sleep.
Although the women's bracket is a little bit easier to predict because, like Larry was talking about, you want to talk about chalk. It's always a lot of chalk going on.
There's still some upsets though. When you start getting those 7-10
more than there were about 7 or 8 years ago. 7 or 8 years ago, there were none. There were almost none. It was like you could just move one through it. Yeah, it's just crazy. If it's not UConn, then you just don't want to win.
It's UConn, just like everybody else.
Yeah, but I mean, if you got to, I mean, you just hope you win the other stuff.
You have to.
UConn's winning the championship. Sorry, they are. All right, I will see you on Monday, my friend.
Sounds good.
Gabe Anderson, that day. I knew you like that date. It's funny how things work in a circle, just like a lot of other things in this world are cyclical, circular, whatever you want to call them. Same works in basketball, right? In sports. I mean, this date, 9 years ago, Will Wade was the leading candidate to be the coach at LSU. Right now, even though Matt McMahon hasn't been fired, if you had to say who's the leading candidate to be the best men's basketball coach at LSU, it's at least what and what between Will Wade and Matt McMahon. Again, right? I still think it's going to be McMahon. Gabe thinks it's going to be Will Wade. But it's just funny how things like that turn around. Oh, he said no? You don't think that? Okay. What about the dude from High Point? That dude's got some energy. That dude's going to be coaching somewhere else soon, you would think. That was fun. High Point. That guy was all fired. He was ready to beat somebody's ass. That was fun. I don't even remember. He's got a weird name, but whatever. I'd never seen him or heard of him before. That was a lot of fun to watch. Anyway, look, I say this every year, and I will say this there have been years where I really get into college basketball and I would watch it from start to finish from the beginning. I just haven't had time this year. but it doesn't matter. I don't have to know a single thing about a team. The NCAA tournament is just different. And I will watch it. I was watching games. I didn't know who they were yesterday. Loved it. Didn't bet on a single thing yesterday. Watched NCAA tournament when I wasn't at the hospital, or I even had it on in the car, in the truck when I was going to the hospital and coming back from the hospital. Eating dinner, put it on. So it was fantastic. So we'll see what happens. That's why LSU needs to find its way to get back in this thing when they used to be competitive. I mean, we don't need to have a perennial national championship team, but I mean, LSU men's basketball needs to be relevant again. And they haven't been relevant in a long time. I mean, they just haven't. I mean, Will Wade, I'll give them credit, when they were, at least they became relevant for a short time. But in the grand scheme of things, when's the last time LSU was relevant for multiple years in a row? When John Brady was here? I don't know. It's tough. All right. Last question of the day. UBN wants to know, can you pick up all your winter clothes now? I did look at a long-range forecast. You know I am with the weather. Unfortunately for me and people who feel like me, it is going to get warm again this weekend and last for a little bit. But it looks like next weekend, I think it could be not like we had, not where I think it got down to like 31 up here in the North Shore. There was frost on the neighbors. There were frost on our roofs a couple days ago. I don't think it's going to get that chilly again, but I do think we're going to have one more little blast to where you'll need your winter clothes. So there you go. You don't need all of them though. You get most of them away. All right. I thank all of you for still commenting back there. It was a great show. It was a great week. We've had a couple really good weeks in a row. Season 6 is off to a fantastic start. So again, I will ask you, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel. If you like what you hear and you've been around a while and you aren't yet one of the members, one of our Dattitude members, you get access to our Slack channel. A couple other little things. We're about to do something special for our members. That's coming up soon, but we would appreciate if you consider becoming a member of the Dattitude family. If to Charles and UBN for the super chats today, and just in general, if you have donated whether you've donated $1 or in UBN's case, a couple $100 to the supporting independent broadcasting show, journalism, whatever you want to call it. We appreciate it. Next thing I'm going to work on, though, is jimderry.com is going to get up. I'm probably going to start a newsletter at some point in the near future as well. And then put all of our old podcasts on there. So that's coming soon. I'm about to work on that. So yeah, lots of reasons to help support the channel. We would certainly appreciate it. But that is going to wrap it up for us on this Friday. I want to thank today's guests, Larry Holder, Gabe Henderson, and of course, you. You are always our guest, but you're more than just our guest. You're our family. We hope you can join us next on Monday, where I'm pretty sure it's going to be a mono-y Monday. It will just be you and me and Gabe, and we will have our chats. We will talk Saints. We'll talk LSU baseball. We will talk about the brackets a little bit, and we will have that date. Who knows what year we'll have that date on March 23rd, whatever year we pick, and see what happened on this date back in history. A reminder, as we told you, to subscribe. Give us the thumbs up. Give us the like. You can also find us wherever you get your podcasts, including Apple, Spotify, and many more. We are live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 11 a.m. We're about to start ramping up our draft previews, so we hope you stick with us. Have a wonderful, fantastic, glorious, beautiful weather weekend. We will see you all on Monday, and until then, take it easy, my friends.